Is it time for the Detroit Pistons to make a drastic change with Jalen Duren, and can they still win Game 6? We'll break it down in today's episode of Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Khahil. We are joined by friend of the podcast, Matt Griffin. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Later on, we'll talk about, has Cade Cunningham been good enough? There's been some criticism. I'll spoil it a little bit. I think a lot of it is pretty crazy, but there's been some criticism of Cade. Has he been good enough to win this series? We'll also talk about what are some ways or some adjustments they could do to win this game coming up in game six, in Cleveland. But we start with the obvious elephant in the room of Jalen Duren and how he has played in these playoffs. I just got done listening, Matt, to Zach Lowe talk about this with I'm completely forgetting who his guest was. Howard Beck. I've had him on the podcast.
Wow.
Just got done listening. My fault. Yeah. Got done listening to them talk about Jalen Duren and his play, and they specifically started talking about him and the duo of him and Ausar. So before we get to that, you haven't been on the podcast during this series. Just give me and you're a guy who obviously was very high on Jalen Duren coming into these playoffs. Give us an idea. Just where are you at with how he's played? What are you seeing? Like what are you feeling like?
I mean, I feel like everybody else. I feel empty about it. I feel hollow about it. It feels like we've painted something on the wall. Like, we know what the problem is. We've circled the target. We've figured out sort of what the issue with this team has been thus far in the playoffs, and it just remains the issue. We just keep kind of kicking the same rock down the road. We keep talking about the same thing every day. You open up Twitter and there's Khahil. Tonight is the night that Jalen Duren turns it around. 20 and 20, it's coming tonight. 22 and 18. Amari Stoudemire, here he comes. And it just hasn't happened. And, you know, it doesn't feel like there's anything physically sort of getting in his way, right? I think that maybe defensively you could point to some of the issues of, like, with his flexibility and things like that. But, I mean, offensively, it just feels so mental, man, at this point especially. At first, I was like, the Magic, you know, it's a tough series. It's a chippy series. He's finding his footing. He's never been relied upon like this. But, I mean, we played we're 12 games in, and it's been 10 and a half games of garbage of those 12 games. And, you know, that other game and a half wasn't exactly superstar performances. It's been as bad as it could be. I think, like, anytime that, you know, Ku and I talked, we talked often about, you know, the potential extension for Jalen Duren going forward into the season. And through 30 games, it was, well, if he keeps playing like this, I think, you know, he'll get, you know, a max or upwards of $40 million. And then at game 60, it's like, man, it looks like he's going to get an all-NBA spot. And then Cade goes out and he plays well. And it's like, man, what can you even really say now? Jalen Duren has answered every question that's come up this season. Yeah, it's a little bit of a weird sort of outdated archetype, but he's just this good. I think that we, you know, it is what it is. It's the card that we're dealt. He's, you know, our one of our three best players. And the only thing that could stop it now is just a complete egg being laid in the playoffs, and an egg has been laid. It's there. It's in the nest. The egg is laying. And all we can do now is just kind of sit back and sort of watch it happen. It's like a car crash. I can't look away. I as much as I want to win this series, I want to give Jalen Duren one more chance at redemption in the next series. You know, there's not two all defense caliber bigs on the other team, but it's not to make an excuse, man. He's been horrible. It's been an F. The grade has been an F, and there's not really much more to say about it.
So obviously, I mean, I've talked a lot about it on the podcast so far. So I really want to get your thoughts on. I mean, you mentioned that you think it's like mostly mental. Is there anything like schematically that you're seeing that you think that's like taking him out of his game, or that he's just not been able? For me, I agree that it's been mostly mental. Like Orlando did some things like the switching, and he wasn't able to punish the switches as much, which teams tried that during the regular season, but he mashed them a ton when they did that. Like, he would just mash them. It wasn't, but I get it. They were bigger bodies. Franz was good. Like, I get that.
In the regular season, every game.
Right. So I get that. There was some stuff going on in the Orlando series, even though there was a lot of stuff also that was just like, man, he's just not playing well. This series, even more so, though, it doesn't feel like that. The thing is, like, me and Lindsey Hunter have talked about this a lot on the squad show. we've kind of like just ignored the scoring. Like we went away from just like, okay, you're not going to be able to score. Fair enough. Maybe it's not advanced yet for the playoffs. We get it. Fine, whatever. The scoring we don't even care about. It's literally everything else. Like it seems like everything else is just fallen off. And the best explanation I can come up with is he's so much in his head that now just the basic things that made him unique, he's struggling to do because he's just thinking way too much and just in his head nonstop. Do you see something else from that? Is there something schematically, or do you agree with that?
I mean, I think schematically doesn't even feel like the right word. I think personnel-wise, it's often Evan Mobley that he's trying to drive against. It's often Evan Mobley that's sliding over and help when he does receive a short roll pass and he's looking at the rim. Like, that definitely plays a part in it. I mean, he's one of the best defensive players in the world. And, I mean, it's not even just Duren. I feel like Tobias has almost made it a point to try and score on Evan Mobley in isolation a couple times. It's like, this we want to go away from this guy. This is the guy that we circled to stay away from, and neither of them have really succeeded at that. And obviously, it's more so credit to Mobley than anything. But when Mobley is able to roam off of Ausar, there's definitely not a lot that Duren can do. But there's nothing schematically really. I mean, there's a couple times in the Magic series where I was like, I think they're boxing him out with two guys. Like, but in this series especially, there's nothing. He has 0 second chance points. There's no.
Yeah, I mean
There's no scheme in the world that would dictate that your all NBA caliber center who makes his money on the interior as a rebounder, as a finisher, has 0 second chance points this deep into a series. It just can't happen. So no, I don't think that there's any excuse.
Yeah, and look, I've pointed out multiple clips where, I mean, that one, I'm sure you know which one I mentioned here with he gets Cade gets trapped, Cade hits him on the roll, and James Harden's the tagging defender.
Yeah.
Ausar is open for a lob, but even if you don't want to throw that lob, it's James Harden tagging, just like he matched him all year, and he just gets the ball stripped from him. Yesterday, Lindsay mentioned that he was really frustrated about one where he got an offensive rebound along the right baseline, and usually during the year, like and this is just simple stuff, like this isn't super talented stuff. Like during the year, he's grabbing with two hands. You're not taking the ball away from him. You're not like he gets an offensive rebound. He's strong as hell. You're not taking it from him. And then there was one yesterday, he gets off into rebound. He's just holding it like with one hand, kind of like nonchalantly, and they knock the ball away from him. It's just like, it's like little stuff like that. It's like, man, like, are you just like, what's going, like, are you locked in? Like, are you like, what's going on? To your point,
there was a game earlier in the season, one of our first two matchups with them for sure, against Boston, where he was having similar problems. And it stuck out enough to where we both noticed it and like talked about it. And we're like, that game against Boston, like he was bringing the ball down. He wasn't keeping it high. A lot of Boston's smaller defenders were able to come over and swipe down. And that Harden play you mentioned was exactly a case of that, where he just didn't keep the ball high. If he just kept the ball high, it's 2 points, whether he passes to Ausar or he goes up with it himself, unless he blows another layup.
I mean, and then like I was going to mention that one yesterday, JB in game 5, I should say, I had asked before game 5 to start using Ausar more as a screener again. I feel like they went away from that and try to use Ausar as the short roll guy, because Duren so far in the short roll just wasn't. I mean, I had complained between game 4 and game 5 that we just basically have lost the passing of Duren that we saw for a few years. Like it just had been gone. So I was like, okay, put Ausar in the short roll. Let JD be in the dunker spot. Maybe he gets a few easy ones that he can, he gets his confidence back. And they did that, and he got 2 looks, and he blew both of them. And both of these looks, like especially the first one. The first one during the season, he's yamming that. Like that is he's catching it and he's dunking it one hand on whoever it is down there. And he hesitates, he pump fakes, and he still kind of gets himself in a good position. He pump fakes, tries to go up on the left side, gets a clean layup, and he just blows it. It's just like this. It just feels so much. It like you mentioned, it's not scheme. There's some guys that are, Mobley is a good defender. He's a great defender, obviously, and having the 2 bigs isn't like he's playing toddlers. It's going to be harder. But there's so many things that are happening when you're just watching. You're just like, what's like? Are you okay? Like, are you hurt? Like, what is
gathering the ball? Playoffs, he struggled to gather the ball. It's very bizarre to me.
So I wanted to segue that into, because now, like I mentioned earlier, I listened to Zach Lowe talk about the duo of him and Ausar, and that obviously I feel like has been a point of contention in the Pistons community for a while. I feel like it's always been misplaced. I feel like it's mostly always been wrong. I have been a strong pro Cade, Ausar-Duren. They fit together. They're fine. They will lead you to contention for years. But now Zach Lowe talked about it, and the on-off numbers or the lineup data with them to this playoffs does not look as great as it once did. I want to bring out these numbers. I want to ask you why you think that is. Through the playoffs, according to Data Baller so far, they've played 247 minutes together. They are minus 0.4 on off, or minus 0.4. Excuse me, a minus 0.4 net rating. With Duren off the floor and Ausar on, they are a plus 11.8. With Duren on the floor and Ausar off, they're only a plus 1.8. So that was a point of talking point from Zach Lowe. And he mentioned like, oh, we're seeing like, the fact that neither of them can shoot, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I want to quickly say, I think and Matt, you can say if you disagree with me, if you're reasoning for why you think these two are not playing as well together, these playoffs it's really our last few games stat, to be honest. If your reasoning for that is because Ausar or JD can't shoot threes, like if that's your big overarching reason, I think you're just completely misunderstanding what made these two guys work in the first place. Like the reason why these two guys are not working right now, which by the way, let me just make it clear. Through games 1 and 3, they had a plus 5.7 net rating. The last 2 games has really tanked it. They're at minus 52 net rating because they got blown out in game 4. And then game 5, Duren was horrible. If you just go the entire playoff run, this entire playoff run, excluding the last 2 games, they were at plus 5.8 together again. So it's really just a game 4 and 5 data point that really is being talked about here. And we've talked about it multiple times how the last year's playoffs was great. They were dominant in their minutes all throughout the regular season. They've been dominant in their minutes. Like all the other data says they work. I had a long tweet talking about why someone asked me, why isn't it not working then if it's not just them not being able to shoot? And in short, half of the duos is playing like trash. That's half of the duo is, Ausar is basically out rebounding him at this point. They dominated second chance points. That was part of what made them dominant. They dominated offensive glass. They dominated second chance points. Duren has 0 second chance points in this series. That's just, honestly, when I saw that is incredible. That feels like it should be impossible through 5 games. He has no second chance points. Cleveland has completely basically stopped really paying attention to him. There's been times where I've watched them switch Dennis Schroeder onto him, and he's not sealing and demanding the ball. Like it's not the fact that he can't shoot. It's the fact that they now feel comfortable tagging with guards. They feel comfortable if they have to switch with a guard. It's like, okay, well, if it happens, it happens. And he's just not making them pay for it. Like that has disappeared. All of his downhill finishing, downhill offense has completely disappeared. His passing completely disappeared. The rebounding has completely disappeared. Like, yeah, if you take insert X bad basketball player and play him with it's not going to work. If Duren is the Duren we've seen, like if Duren is the Duren we see and the Cavs decide to trap Cade, Duren is mashing the tagging defender almost every time. And if he doesn't, he's throwing a lob to Ausar or kicking out to a shooter like we have seen them do all last playoff run and throughout this year. Like the reason why they're not now, yes, if Ausar could shoot, would that make it an even better duo? Yes. Is that why it's not working? No, it's not working because Duren has just completely lost everything that made him unique. And it's gotten to a point where it has to be mental because like you mentioned, it's not even like the super talented stuff. It's just the basic things at this point that he can't gather the ball. He's struggling to catch the ball. He's dropping rebounds. That's why it's not working. If Jalen Duren's going to play bad, no duo is going to work with him. It's just going to be bad. I want to give you a chance to reply and give your full thoughts. I did run too long right there. I apologize, everybody. I've been doing that a lot lately. When we come back, I want to get Matt's thoughts on that. We'll talk about it and also get into how they can win Game 6 still coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like playoff basketball live. The intensity, the crowd, the rivalries. It's a completely different experience when you're in the building. The NBA playoffs are where unforgettable moments happen, and being there in person just hits different. Game Time makes it incredibly easy to find tickets, even for those hard-to-get playoff games in just a few taps. And with Game Time Guarantee, you know you're getting 100% authentic tickets on time at the best price. The Seat View feature is a game changer. You can actually see what your seat looks like before you purchase the tickets. Plus, with the lowest price guarantee and ticket coverage, you can feel confident every time you're buying tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off your first purchase with Game Time. Then I've got to tell you guys about another one of our sponsors. This one is DoorDash. The postseason is heating up, and DoorDash is a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun because every player has their bag. With DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. Those late night interviews hit. Suddenly you need chips at midnight. DoorDash is built exactly for that. If the group chat says pull up, DoorDash makes sure you show up prepared. Snacks, cups, and even a phone charger for the friend who's always at 2%. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, and gear. Whatever gets you through the season, delivered right to your door. That's what DoorDash in your bag all season long. So I want to thank you guys again. Make Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Obviously, Matt, I talked quite a bit there at the end about the duo and what I think is causing it. Let us know what your thought. Do you agree, disagree? Go ahead.
I mean, I generally agree. I think there's two different things I think that you argued against there. One, obviously, I mean, the net rating stuff, with the obvious caveat that it's very small sample sizes here in the playoffs for any sort of line of data. I mean, the plus 12 that Ausar is without Duren is not we don't have Mehmet Okur checking in the game for Jalen Duren. So the idea that it's just like, well, you got two non-shooters, like you just can't make this thing work. There's certainly more to it than that. And I think that, like you said, the stuff that made them good in the regular season, even beyond like just Jalen Duren sort of, like you said, like the all-star stuff or the all-NBA stuff or the stuff that we consider when we say, man, this guy took a huge leap going into this year, has kind of left them. Like you said, the second chance points. I mean, they rebounded reasonably well yesterday. Not a lot of thanks to Duren, but you can't really complain about like the rebounding in the series, all things considered. I don't think. It's just, like you said, it feels weird to be like, this duo doesn't work. It's a player doesn't work. There's a player that's not working. He's malfunctioning on the court. It feels weird to sort of almost tie anybody else into this. It's one thing to say, oh, the Pistons don't have enough. You shouldn't be relying on, a center like this to be your second creator, yada, yada. And I think that is all fair and all fair game. You can use the Duren situation to talk about some of the broader issues that the Pistons are facing. But I think that the pull and Ausar Thompson into it is kind of ridiculous. I mean, he's been unbelievable to me. The game 5 obviously was, excuse me, not the game. Yeah, game 5. Game 5 was really bad. But other than that,
no, game 4. You were right. It was game 4.
Yeah,
that
okay.
and we just played game 5.
Yes, game 4 to go to make it 2-2, of course. He's been great, and it feels weird to sort of use this as any leverage or any fuel in the fire of Ausar Thompson being part of something that doesn't work, because Ausar Thompson has really been the only thing that's making the Pistons work, along with Cade. It's pretty crazy. I mean, we talk about the Pistons as just like this all-time great defense, and it's Cade and just a monstrous defense. And in the playoffs, it's one guy. It's Cade. Cade's been great defensively too, but I mean, I feel like, man, is Ausar pulling this whole boat oftentimes. Throughout these series or in these stretches, or just changing games on the defensive end alone. It doesn't feel like it's 5 guys, locked in like OKC is when it feels like there's 4 hyenas and a great rim protector behind them. It's one guy to an extent, like one guy, and everybody else is doing their thing. But it does feel like the team is almost failing to a degree. Not that it's not like everybody hasn't shown up. I feel like Jalen Duren is really the guy that has not shown up. But it feels like we're not giving Ausar and Cade enough help on either end of the floor, really.
No, yeah, I think your point of, if you want using this as a way to talk broadly about how, well, this shows why you shouldn't have walked into the playoffs with him as your ideal second option. That makes sense. Even though Trajan came out yesterday, or today, I guess I should say, when I'm recording this, that he doesn't regret this. This is what he wanted to see. He wanted to see his young guys see how they played in the playoffs. He wanted to get that and see how they would do. So he says he doesn't regret it. And I understand that point of view. I understand why fans would be angry at that. But again, the season isn't over. The series is not over. And I want to transition this into Game 6. Obviously, is coming up on Friday night. It's going to be a back-to-back. It should be a fun night of basketball. This is going to be in Cleveland. Cleveland has yet to lose at Cleveland. Now, before this last game, they had yet to win on the road. So everything, just because you hadn't done it yet doesn't mean it won't happen. However, this is going to be a very tough thing to do. It's going to be winning in Cleveland is going to be incredibly tough, especially coming off the letdown that you just had in Game 5, where you feel like you had this game won, and now it's going to be tough. Can they do it? Yes. I won't say this team can't do anything after they pulled off a 3-1 comeback last series and I had to wear a clown costume. Like, I won't ever say that they can't do anything. And they should have won Game 3 in Cleveland, to be honest. They should have been able to steal that one. So can they win? Yes. But Matt, if they're going to win, where are some key points? Obviously, Jalen Duren needs to play better. I guess we kind of got just pushed that elephant to the side. Outside of that, what is there anything else you're seeing that, hey, if they're going to win Game 6, they got to be able to do this, this, and this. They should adjust to this, and this.
I mean, elephants take up a lot of room, but there is one thing. Look, I think that zooming out as much, I mean, Jalen Duren is definitely the primary narrative. God, we've talked about him so much on this podcast, so I cannot. He's certainly the narrative, I think, coming out of this series. But if I'm zooming back, if I were like a national podcast talking about this series going forward, to me, the narrative is how many more of these does James Harden have in the chamber? Because we have seen, especially since he left Houston, a lot of these series where James Harden, yes, he does fold, but he has one or two, right? He has one or two games. He has the game Uno. He has the 47 piece, but a lot of times it's very hot and cold with James Harden in the playoffs. And usually now heading into Game 6, I said James Harden never plays 3 good games in a row. So here I am heading into Game 5. So here I am heading into Game 6 saying James Harden never plays 4 good games in a row in the playoffs. So I do think that is that's probably my biggest piece of hope, or really biggest piece of cope, is that surely this cannot keep happening. I think that defensively, I mean, I don't even feel like Danis did a horrible job on him when he started. Bringing Duncan back, does Duncan play going forward? I guess I assume he does because he's such a kind of a late scratch. But, I mean, who knows? Is he 100%? I mean, I've seen 100% Duncan try to guard these guards. I don't want to see 80% Duncan try to do it. So you have to consider that factor too. I mean, the Harden piece is the biggest one to me. I feel like we've done a good job keeping Donovan on, under wraps. I think that Ausar adjusting where he's placated on the floor, adjusting who he's guarding, sort of what some of his assignments are. I think JB has done a really good job with that. I even think JB hit some good buttons offensively last game. It felt like they were more direct going at the guards, and they did a pretty good job. And really, I don't even think that the shots that they created for a lot of that game were bad. But the defense wasn't up to standard. We came out in the second half flat. We just can't do that, man. It's runs. I mean, we imploded. We imploded last game. We were up by 9 with 2 minutes left, and we imploded. So you just got to be persistent. You can't have these. You can't piss your shorts, man. We just can't have these runs where we piss our shorts. It's happened a couple times in the playoffs. We've been on the benefiting side of being of the shorts pissing. We can't be on the bad side. So
you brought up something that this is really my answer to the question is, and some people aren't going to like this answer. I'm not going to lie to you, but it's just kind of how I feel. There's not really that many adjustments they need to make outside of just not imploding. Like if we look at the last game they just played, they're up 9 points with 2.5 minutes left. Like,
well, one adjustment, Paul Reed.
I was just about to say, yeah, Paul Reed it will be the guy we get to in just a second. I agree. Okay. But outside of that, you're up 9 with 2.5 minutes left. You're supposed to win that game. Outside of just completely blowing up and just like imploding, like you mentioned, you should win that game. And you don't get up 9 on accident. They got up 9 because, I feel like their defense was really good last game. Like, I thought their defense was really good up until that last 2.5 minute stretch. Cleveland went on these runs. They're going to go on runs. They're a good offense. But the Pistons have had multiple games and multiple stretches throughout this series when they have looked like the second best defense in the league, and they've just completely clamped Cleveland and able to take a big lead. Like we saw it in that game twice. They got up by 15, clamped down, fell back down, clamped back up, got it back up by 9. So honestly, they lost, and that sucks, man. It sucks. But honestly, Lindsay mentioned it earlier. I think he's kind of right. It really is that game was the best example of the cliche that no one likes to hear of. It's a make or miss league, because if they, in the final 2.5 minutes, when they started doubling Cade, Tobias got a wide open three that if he hits that, it's cooked. Like, they've won. The next one, he hits Paul Reed on a roll. Paul Reed has 7 feet of space between him and Mobley at the rim. He could have went at him and tried to draw a foul, which he tried to do. He got blocked. He could have done something else. He could have went to a floater. He could have went to a midi. He looked like after he got blocked, he got mad at himself that he didn't just shoot the midi from the high post. But, like, you created a shot for a guy that has 7 feet of space between him and the next defender. Like, you got a good shot there. Danis got a good look off of a double team. Like, you created good looks, and guys just didn't hit shots, and you weren't able to get stops on the other end. Mobley hit some big shots, and you just imploded. Like, there's I don't know if there's many adjustments that I can walk away from this game, because I walk away from this game saying Pistons should have won. They played everything almost exactly right, and they just imploded down the stretch. Now, with that said, I do think the biggest adjustment they need to make is what you mentioned. I mentioned this in the last podcast. I'll mention it again here. If Paul Reed is not in the rotation in the first half, JB needs to answer some serious questions. Like, and I don't mean softball from the Cleveland, or from the media in Cleveland when, outside, away from home. I don't mean softballs about it and then leave it alone. If he does not play Paul Reed in this first half, I mean, he needs to be asked question, he answers, then a rebuttal. Like, there needs to be there needs to be some fastballs thrown at JB if he does not play Paul Reed in this first half. If we get the excuse again of, well, we think Paul actually works better when we're down 10, and when we're even and only slightly down, we actually think JD and Stu are a better option. If we get that kind of answer again, and don't get Paul Reed, who has been by far and away the best center for this team, for maybe not even just this series. You could go even to the last bit of the Orlando season, like game 6 and 7. If he is just not playing if he's just not playing in the first half, and they wait until the fourth quarter when they're down 9 to put them back into the game, so they have to beat a deficit again to get back up, I feel like that's almost inexcusable. Like, it's not a fireable offense. Not saying that. But it's an inexcusable decision that would really need multi-layer answers about why, how we can understand why that's happening.
I think as basketball fans, we would do ourselves a service oftentimes when a decision is made by a team or by a coach to put yourself in their shoes and just think, how did they arrive here? What was the thought process that got them there? You obviously, probably disagree with it. You may disagree with it. That's why you're having this conversation with yourself. But you will pick up on some things if you just do this enough times as you watch basketball. But that leaves me here bewildered at the thought process that leads to you seeing, oh, it's the fourth quarter. This game is close. Now it's Paul Reed time. But you not feeling like at any point in the first 3 quarters of the game that Paul Reed would benefit you or that he would help these minutes upcoming here. It doesn't make sense to drastically switch your feel on your rotation, your feel on the players, your bigs, who you want to rely on when your back is against the wall like this. Like, you just wouldn't do that. It's one thing if it's, yesterday, earlier, first half, and it's like, let's see if Sasser's got something for us here. We don't have Duncan. We're going to be struggling, maybe from the outside. It's going to be tough to get threes up. Let's get Sasser some minutes here. That's one thing for sure. I don't necessarily see that as a panic. I think that's just, hey, this is a pretty deep team. Sasser, he's not a scrub, right? He can bring something to the floor. Let's see. To basically be treating this center who has been, quite frankly, a monster on a per minute basis for you all season, has been, and it's on a per minute basis. Don't throw all your calculators at me. On a per minute basis, he has objectively been one of the best big men in basketball this season. There just isn't really much, there's not really much question about it. And the sheets will tell you he's been our best big man. So to kind of just treat him as if he is a breaking case of emergency, oh, this game is starting to fall out of our balance, now we need to play Paul Reed, really makes me feel like we are not treating the first half with enough importance. We're not putting enough value in the points in the scoreboard heading into the fourth quarter. It's very bizarre. He has been your most reliable big man. He's been the big man who's giving you the most energy. He's been the best big man offensively. I mean, Stu has certainly had his moments as a rim protector defensively, but Paul Reed has created the turnovers that he always does. He's held his own on the glass. It's very bizarre, the treatment of him in this series, not playing him unless you're losing. I really don't think that you can do that. You can't do that. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't check out. There's no thought process really to me where that makes sense.
We're going to go to the next segment and talk about whether Cade has been good enough. But doing what you said, putting yourself in the coach's shoes, I think it's, for me, I think it's I think I know the reason he's doing it. I think it's I don't want to say it's a dumb, but I think we probably know why he's doing it.
Okay, well, all right.
He
all
can't
right,
bench Duren. He can't.
I'm not saying you bench Duren,
but if you can't sit Duren, and you also can't just sit Stu. So like he probably doesn't want to upset either of them. That's probably what it is.
I feel like you can sit. I mean,
no, you can't.
On the bench all year.
You can look. You can sit either one of them. For me, you can, as long as you're not flat out benching Duren off the starting lineup, you can sit either one of them. But I think that probably is the only answer we can come to of he just doesn't want to upset Stu and Duren. Like that's the only.
Reed's been better all year. Reed's been better all year. Like it's the playoffs. I get what you're saying. Honestly, I thought you were going to tell me from the coach's shoes. It's like everybody's tired in the fourth quarter. You throw Paul Reed's motor into a game where everybody's a little beat down. It's like a weapon of mass destruction. But I don't think that's a good enough reason.
I agree. I think it's a very a bad decision. How about that? It's a very bad decision, but I think that's probably what it is. He doesn't want to upset Stu or Duren. But coming up, has Cade Cunningham been good enough for the Detroit Pistons to win this series? We'll break it down coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here and every possession matters. If you're looking to get even closer to the action, FanDuel has a great way to get you started. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's right, turn $5 into $150 in bonus bets just for getting started. You'll love using FanDuel during the playoffs because everything you need is right there in one place. You can check stats, trends, and matchups before making your picks, which makes the whole experience feel a lot more informed. It's a really easy app to navigate, and it makes a playoff basketball even more engaging from start to finish. Head to FanDuel.com to get started today. Again, and if you win on your first $5 bet, you'll get $150 in bonus bets. Again, at FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Now, I've got to tell you guys about another one of our sponsors. This one is Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on, you need the right hire. This is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates. Check all your boxes, less stress, less time, more results. We need the right person to cut through the chaos. This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. That's another great way to support the podcast. All right, Matt, sorry to the listeners. I have been running really long on the first two segments, the last few episodes. A lot of you guys said you guys don't care, so I appreciate it. But to David and Nick, my bosses, I'm going to apologize once again. Forgive me. But I do have a hard out for Matt. I talked with Matt about this before. I had to go record something else in about 6 minutes here. So we got to be quick here. Matt, do you think Cade Cunningham has been good enough for the Detroit Pistons to win this series? And if not, where has he not been good enough? What's your thoughts on Cade this series?
I mean, to win this series, he's totally been good enough. I don't know how you could argue that. Yeah, he's been good enough. I think Cade's been fantastic. I think, sure, there have been moments. I mean, I get on him about the turnovers as much as anybody will. But I think yesterday you saw him really thoroughly dominate that game for the vast majority of it until Cleveland sold out and put 2 on the ball. And at that point, I think to some degree you've done your job as like the point guard when you get 2 on the ball and you've created 4-on-3s for your teammates. I do think like in the playoffs, as I watch Shea, as I watch Ant, as I watch some of like the premier scorers in the league, I've definitely been thinking about all the ways that you could sort of counter, like even getting that trap in the first place and being able to set up your offense from different spots. But I mean, our team is kind of not equipped even to give Cade the ability to do that, really. So that's a whole nother example or conversation, so to speak, and for the future. But I think he's been great. I mean, he's been fantastic both ends of the floor. I mean, the defense I thought yesterday, and really all series, but especially yesterday, I thought he did as good a job on Harden as anybody. To watch, you know, the amount that we tax him on offense, the amount that he has to do, and for him to still sit in a chair on defense is pretty cool. Not a lot of teams have that.
Yeah, I think Cade has been absolutely incredible. I agree with you. I see some people trying to blame him after yesterday's game. I've seen some people be pretty critical of him after yesterday's game and try to make it a whole series thing. I think that's absolutely ludicrous. Look, Cade has turned the ball over too much. That is by far the biggest criticism that absolutely has merit to it. That one, the 8 turnover games, the 7, like that is. He's turned the ball over way too much. And a lot of them maybe is a decent amount of them are self-inflicted ones that he doesn't have to do. Like those ones are not, they're just like careless ones. I know he doesn't like calling them careless because it makes it seem like he doesn't care. He said that after one of the post games. I don't really know another word for it. I'm not insinuating he doesn't care, but they're careless turnover. I think people get what I mean.
Lack of focus.
There you go. But outside of that, man, sure, like there's times where he falls asleep as like an off-ball defender, as on a catch and shoot guy, like with Strus. But like on the ball, he's been incredible on Harden as a weak side guy. He's been great on the glass. Like he's been hustling to make sure, because he realizes that his big men room aren't rebounding the same. He's been great on the glass, getting down there, the fact that he's been relied upon to do as much as he is offensively and then still able to do these other things defensively that you would not see. I don't know how many you could even count in the league that are able to do that, carry this type of load and do what he does defensively. And then yesterday, offensively as a scorer, I thought he was incredible yesterday. Some incredible shot making. The 3-point shot, really all playoffs has been there. The pull-up 3-point shot that we talked about, me and Matt talked about that a ton throughout after last year's playoffs, that the pull-up 3-point shot had to come through if he was going to be a good scorer in the playoffs. And it's been there really all playoffs. Like he was 6 of 10 on threes yesterday. I think he's been incredible. And then one of the main criticisms I had of him was once he started getting trapped, he has to get off the ball earlier. Like he's holding it too long. Yeah. He's allowing them to pressure him. And yesterday, once they started trapping him in the fourth, he was getting the ball out of his hands quick. He was allowing them to attack 4 and 3 over and over. And even throughout the game, he was doing so much of a better job. I like the fact that they were using Ausar as the screener a lot of times, but he even did it with Paul Reed a few times. But he was getting the ball out of his hands quickly in the pick and roll, getting it over the top to Ausar, letting him get down in the short roll, letting Paul Reed get down in the short roll. Like I don't know how you can watch yesterday's game and blame Cade at all. Like the idea that he didn't shoot enough shots at the end of the game, I agree with you. Like there's things that the coaching staff can do to like put him off ball, have him come off different actions, or have him set up in different areas to where he can attack before the double team gets there. But I mean, if you're having him just walk the ball up the floor and they're doing the SGA Lakers defense where there's 2 people literally waiting for him at the top of his teammates got to be able to hit open shots, man. Like I like it's just they had open shots. So I like if you're wanting Cade to be better than he's been, when also considering the context in which he is playing at or playing with, I think that's kind of just ludicrous. Like he's at 58.6 true shooting on 30 points, 7.7 assists, 5.5 rebounds, and he's shooting 42% from deep on 7.1 attempts. Outside the turnovers, I don't know what you could say about this dude. Like he is absolutely holding up his end of the bargain. He was the best player on the floor yesterday, man. Team fell apart.
I think he's been the best player on the floor. Both series, I think he's comfortably been the best player on the floor. I think you saw in game 2, I want to say it was when he finished with I know he finished with 25 points in the game I'm referring to. It was game 2. He wasn't very assertive in the first half. I felt like it seemed like Cleveland was ready to almost throw kind of the kitchen sink at him defensively again in that game. But a lot of times he did not push the gas pedal. He was not like sort of seeking out creating those 4-on-3s. And then when the fourth quarter came, he did take over as a scorer, and I was like, maybe this is Cade's blueprint. And our team is not really built for that to be his blueprint. He can't spend the first 3 quarters sort of,
feeling it out.
I guess just getting sort of information, so to speak, and then to take over in the fourth, a la Chris Paul, like it felt like he did in game 2. Yesterday, it felt like the inverse, where they needed him to score, and for 3 quarters, he sure did. And like you said, the shot making was fantastic. But man, when at the end of the game, it really felt to me like he was gassed. That was the first thing I noticed when I saw this thing was going in overtime. I was like, this is really bad news. I don't know that Cade's got another 6-7 points in him, and he didn't. He had none. So so it goes. If there's a criticism for Cade from me from yesterday, it's that we ran out of gas at the end, and that can't happen. One of these years. Yeah. But like you said, we're asking him to do so much. What standard can you really hold him to?
Yeah, I completely agree. We'll wrap it up there. Thank you, Matt, for coming on. We didn't have any problems technology-wise this time with Matt. Everything's on point. Camera, mic, everything's good.
I mean, we never have technology problems with Matt. Usually I keep it simple as it gets. So, point A, point B.
Appreciate you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And until next time, we will see you guys later. Stay safe out there, and peace out, everybody.